Hi, this is Joe again with another review. For the subject of this video, I'm going to be discussing. Previously I have done reviews of other favorite Batman, particularly the movies, the Batman the Animated Series, and of course the god awful 1977, the New Adventures of Batman and Robin animated series. But there's one thing I believe that I haven't really discussed, and that was the classic 1960s live action television show Batman. So I'm going to do that for this review. And before I continue, I want to dedicate this video to Yvonne Craig, who the very week of doing this video, passed away from cancer at the age of 78. Of course, any teenage boy at that time, or any kid who grew up watching the show in reruns, got the hots for Yvonne Craig and playing Batgirl. Of course, she had other parts, but that's the one that she's most famous for. So we want to dedicate this video to her and my condolences to her family. Of course, I'm discussing the 1960s Batman and the End live action television series, which lasted for 3 years on ABC. Excuse me. I'm going with Batman. They had an unusual format for Batman. Unlike other superhero television shows, where either a half hour or an hour show, that just had aired one episode a week and that's it. Well, in case of Batman, they aired like 2 or 3 episodes. They aired at least 2 episodes a week. In some cases, 3 episodes a week, which is unique for a primetime series to air more than once a week. And as you know, to keep up the suspense and the viewership, you need to tune in like every single week. But each each episode of the Batman live action show is actually an hour long. But for some reason, they didn't want to have an hour long show for a superhero program at that time. I mean, they changed when you had Wonder Woman and the Incredible Hulk shows, television shows, and eventually the short-lived Spider-Man live-action show. They were 1 hour episodes. They were 1 hour long. But for some reason, for Batman, it was also a 1 hour long show. But ABC decided to chop up the episodes into parts and always leave the episodes in a cliffhanger. But in spite of that, it was an entertaining show. I mean, nowadays people make fun of the Batman television show because of its campiness. It wasn't dark. It wasn't creepy like the recent movies or even the recent comic books where they made Batman Year One or the Dark Knight Returns. Those comic books that took the character to a very dark character. Uh, but when Batman was first created back into the late 1930s, it was a Batman was a dark character. But it wasn't until the 1960s where comic books they had like the comic books code, which lined up the storylines with all comic books that came out at that time. I mean, it wasn't just Batman, but all like Superman and Spider-Man was just starting then. Uh, and they decided to bring up the campiness of the comic books. So when the live-action television show started, that's where it, it got all the campiness from. Was from the comic books. So that's why in the 19 and a lot of the more modern fans, at least the fans who grew up from the live action movies in the 80s, and then the animated series in the animated the great that great animated series in the 90s, Batman the animated series, and of course there was another cartoon series called the Batman cap where they brought up more of the cap, got rid of all the cappiness, and pumped up the dark part of the character up. Same, but not so in the 1960s show. Uh, the thing that always will annoy everybody, and my friend, the Rally reviewer, did a review of this series. That's why it took me a long time to do a review on this. The problem that and they didn't have a problem with the time, but now I have a problem with it. The fact is that almost in every episode, Batman would get caught by the villain of the week, and instead of the villain removing Batman's mask and seeing who Batman really was, they kept you know they kept his mask on. Same thing with Robin, because Robin was in this series, uh, but they never did any of that stuff. But one thing they didn't like about the Batman animated series, the live action series, compared to the other superhero live action superhero shows uh, from the '70s and early '80s. I'm talking about Wonder Woman, uh, the Incredible Hulk, and Spider-Man live action shows. What the other series got right, I'm talking about the Flash, the one from 1990, and of course the Flash show that's currently on now, and the Green Arrow show. That's also currently airing now. Is the fact that they getting it right, they bringing in the villains that they had in the original comic books. Uh, but the Wonder Woman show, the Incredible Hulk show, and Spider-Man didn't do that. They didn't have the villains that were in. They didn't have any Spider-Man villains, Incredible Hulk villains, or Wonder Woman villains in those series for some stupid reason. Again, maybe because of the budgets on these shows weren't as high as maybe the budgets of the shows today. But at least in the live action Batman show, they did have the villains that were in the original comic books. They had at least five. Not five, about six, but at least six of the original villains from the original comic books. Of course, the main four, of course, were the Joker, played by Cesar Romero. I should have mentioned played Batman a lot, but Adam West played Batman, and Burt Ward played Robin in this series. The villains, of course, were classic villains. You had Cesar Romero who played the Joker. You had Burgess Meredith who played the Penguin. You had, of course, I should mention that Cesar Romero had his trademark mustache. And if you see the episodes, either the DVDs that came out, I think about a year or so ago, you can closely look and you can closely see Cesar Romero's mustache underneath the Joker makeup. You also had Burgess Meredith as the Penguin. You had two different actors playing the Riddler. You had Frank Gorshin, who was the most famous one out of the two, and the other one was John Ashton, also played the Riddler in in a particular 2-part episode. But then you also had you also had Catwoman, and Catwoman was played by three different. And I'm not joking, she was played by three different actresses. She was originally played by Julie Newmar in the series, and then after the first season, they made a theatrical movie for Batman the movie, which was before the television series ever came out on DVD. It was the only original Batman series that came out as a DVD with the original movie. You had Lee Meriwether, who was a former Miss America, playing Catwoman, and then in later seasons, I think season 2 and 3, you had Eartha Kitt playing Catwoman. Not only you have a different person, but a different person ethnically playing the part of Catwoman. Then you also have Mr. Freeze, who I think was played by three different actors. One of them was director Arnold Preminger. You also had the Mad Hatter. I'm sorry, I forgot the actor who played the Mad Hatter, but you had the Mad Hatter. We only had one actor playing the Mad Hatter. But for the Joker and Penguin, you only had one actor playing those two characters throughout the whole series. But then I don't know if these particular villains were in the original comic books, but you also had the campy villains in the series as well. You had Milton Berle, who played Louis the Lilac. Not making this up. You had Art Carney, of course, most famous for playing Ed Norton in The Honeymooners. He played a Robin Hood style character named the Archer. You had Cliff Robertson, who later on played Uncle Ben in the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy, playing a character named Shane, kind of like an offshoot of the famous Western movie Shane. Instead of saying the little kid can come back, Shane, there wasn't actually a little kid in that episode. It says, "Come back, Shane, come back." And of course, Batman or Adam West would play Batman would say to him, "Shame on you, Shane." In the episodes where Shane was used, you also had Richard Price who played Egghead, which was another because he actually physically wore a bowl cap to make his face look like an egg. You had uh, Liberace playing a character named Minstrel, or the Minstrel. So you did have campy villains as well as the real rogues gallery of villains in the Batman mythos. But like I said, the thing that also kind of camped it up a bit is that Batman always has some kind of gadgets they use just when the villain was going to use something on him. He just had like a bat shield or a bat, and he uses in the movie a shark bat repellent. He had like everything had the word bat in it. And the Bat computer, which of course was always used in the Batman mythos. Uh, the Bat Cave, the Batmobile, the Batcop. In various parts of the series, you had the Batcopter, you had the Bat cycles, you had the Bat ropes, you had the Batarangs, which Batarangs were always used. But it got ridiculous. And in the Bat Cave, everything was labeled. In every machine that Batman and Robin used to detect what the villain was using, they had labels. It was also ridiculous. But after the first 2 years, kind of like with Star Trek, after the first 2 years, they pretty much stopped using the two-part cliffhanger format, and that's why it was single episodes for the third season. And not only that, but they brought in Yvonne Craig to play Batgirl. I think this was also the first time you actually had Batgirl. Because I don't think Batgirl was really used in the comics. I was a faithful Batman reader of the comic books. I do have a couple of issues of the Batman comics, but I'm not enough to. Actually, obviously, I wasn't born in 1930 when the character was created. So, but I think during the 1960s Batman cartoon, you did have Batgirl in it. I think, but I do know that every other animated series after that, you did have Batgirl in it. But I think it was actually the first time you actually had a physical person playing Batgirl, because it wasn't in the cartoons or not in the comic books yet. I think Batgirl was used in the comic books after the television series came out. And Batgirl, I have to give Yvonne Craig all the credit in the world for creating the very first woman superhero. Because actually this was like about 10 years before Wonder Woman came out. It was before Linda Carter playing Wonder Woman. So it was like 10 years before that. So, and you never had another woman superhero before Wonder Woman, except for Batgirl. Because it was in the 1960s. So when Yvonne Craig created on her, when actually the producers created the character, but it was really her own style, her own grace, her own beauty, and of course her own figure. Obviously, because that costume she was like a skin tight Batgirl costume that they had for her. And they revealed all of her assets, literally all of her assets. Her assets that made her kind of like a sex symbol then. And of course, she with her own style, her own wit, and her own composure, really, in playing that character, she was a groundbreaker. She broke ground portraying that character, and naturally, of course, she had like a fan base for all these years. She always was a popular uh, person in all these science fiction conventions and all this type of thing, because people identify with the character, especially women and young girls who I don't think that Yvonne Craig got enough credit for creating this or portraying this groundbreaking female character who was beautiful, who was drop dead gorgeous. I mean, she really was, and who could kick your butt 6 weeks of Sunday. I mean, that was really a groundbreaking character, and she was born in for the third season. But unfortunately, it was too little, too late to save the series, and it only lasted 3 years. And but that series, kind of like Star Trek, the original Star Trek series was, it had a huge following in syndication, and I think it still airs on one of the over the air local television stations, at least here in New York, called MeTV, who still airs Batman series on Saturday night. Well, Saturday evening still shows the Batman series. And of course, now the series, I think a year ago, came out on DVD, but it's way too expensive for anybody with connected brain cells to even get. Wait till it's out for a couple of years, and then hopefully maybe the price will go down $100. I hope, but it's way too expensive to even get right now for anybody. Even if you Donald Trump, the thing is still damn expensive. But the Batman television series does have its place in history, as campy as it is. I'm sure if kids today were more familiar with the animated, I'm talking about for the last, let's say, 25 years, 25, 26 years, were more familiar with the darkness part of it, of the Batman character, and not the campiness. Well, I don't think many people now will like the original Batman series because it's so campy and so silly. Especially when every time when the villain will capture Batman and Robin, and even Batgirl to an extent, they'll always find some way, with some silly, crazy, totally unbelievable way that Batman and Robin and Batgirl will get out of the trap that the villain set for them. Like Shane did a stampede, or the Joker in one episode had him in an electric chair, Batman and Robin in an electric chair, or a mattress. Somebody had him in a mattress. In a mattress factory, they're making mattresses out of them. I mean, it was really silly. But of course, not only the landmark with Batgirl, but the other landmark episode was the crossover episode with the Green Hornet, which was made and produced by the same producing company as those who produced the Batman series. And so you had an episode with the Green Hornet. And of course, what's notable about that, the Green Hornet had, of course, the Green Hornet and Kato. And you can look this up on YouTube. Kato was played by Bruce Lee. Before anybody knew who the hell Bruce Lee even was, before he even started making movies. And you had all these martial art movies. You had Bruce Lee playing Kato, and then of course you had the famous fight scene with Batman fighting Green Hornet and Robin was fighting Bruce Lee. I mean that episode was really a classic episode, and definitely the best one of the whole series. And of course, the silliest one, if you want to see Yvonne Craig in a bathing suit, there was of course the famous episode when the Joker had gotten into a surfing contest with Batman, and you see Yvonne Craig in a one. Unfortunately, it was a one-piece bathing suit, and not a bikini. But you do see her in bikinis, and there was a clip of her from The Man from U.N.C.L.E., where she's actually topless, and she's lying down on her stomach, and you see what a great figure she had, sunbathing. I'm trying to work on a suntan or something. And then you get in the car, and she has a bikini top, and she's holding the bikini top like this, and she's on the phone, and she let the bikini top fall. But it's implied that she was actually, seeing it topless, but the camera only shot from here up. So you really don't see anything. But and that's from the Man from U.N.C.L.E. show. But like I said, Batman, as campy as it was. I grew up watching that show, and still in a way still enjoying that show as campy as it was. And the funny thing is, if you look at the show that's 50 years old, which Batman is, if you still enjoy it today, that's a show still worth watching. Well, that's my review of the Batman live action Batman series. Please click on the video, please rate it. Feel free to comment on it. Please subscribe to my channel. Please forward this video onto your Facebook pages. And also, please also, you can also check out all my videos are not only on my YouTube channel, but also you go to rallyc.com and check out a bunch of my videos on rallyc.com. Plus, all the content on rallyc.com, that's the website for the Rally Reviewer. Chris Lee Moore, check out all of his videos as well, plus all the other content on his website. You go there and check out all of his website, you get a good time watching his videos. Thanks for watching, and catch you next time.